No, but just
Hashivenu am Hashem Elecha v'noshuva Chadesh yameinu k'kedem Hashivenu Hashem Elecha v'noshuva Chadesh yameinu Put on the plate. Okay, we're on page 297.
We finished this page. Yeah.
I know. So just to recap, so the topic of this piece is the tzaddik and the Baal Tshuva. Yosef is the tzaddik, and Yehuda is the Baal Tshuva, right? Yosef maintains his righteousness throughout. Yehuda, after Yosef was sold, he went into a big descent, and here we have in the Parshat, Vayigash Elav Yehuda. Yehuda approached Yosef, and the Zohar says, it doesn't say Vayigash El Yosef, it just says Vayigash Elav. So the Zohar says that Yehuda was talking to Yosef, but in reality, he was actually pouring his heart out before God. So Reb Shlomo was going with that and talking about the matter of relating with Hashem. In other words, you can study Torah all your life, you can do the mitzvahs, etc., but it doesn't mean that you're really relating directly with Hashem. You're doing what Hashem told you to do, but you yourself, there's a part of you that is not yet talking to God. There's a part of you that's not really in a deep relationship. So the Ishbisur says that the truth is that every word of the Torah has the power to pierce your being.
Do we say
so
this?
Why does
Do we say this yesterday?
Yes.
Okay.
So why is it that when we're learning Torah we don't experience that? Because not that we shouldn't, we should, but that Hashem leaves that up to us, because if it would be automatically like that, then we wouldn't have free choice. Right? That's one of the things that happened at Mount Sinai, is that there was such a strong revelation the Alter Rebbe explains that the idea of Hashem holding the mountain over us, he explains that Hashem showed us so much love that we just, so that I can see you better. That Hashem showed us so much love that we had no choice. We couldn't resist. We of course, we said, how could we not take the Torah? How could we not take the Torah? And in fact, that's the Talmud says that at the time of Purim, we reaffirmed our acceptance of the Torah, right? So what's so great about that? Because at Purim time, God was doubly concealed, right? What does it mean, doubly concealed? It means that when somebody, let's say, is hiding from you, but you know that they're somewhere in this building, but they're hiding, you can't find them. That's concealment. Double concealment means to say that you don't even realize that they're hiding. They're so hidden that you don't even realize that they're hiding from you. So Hashem gives us the Torah in such a way that you could relate to it superficially, or you can even, chas v'shalom, turn your back on it, right? In other words, it's not automatic that you know that you're learning Torah. Oh, you're going to be a holy person, right? Okay, page 298. Klomar, this means to say, Hashem lo mastir mipanai et milot haTorah. God is not doesn't conceal the words of the Torah from me. HaTorah p'tucha lefanai. The Torah is open to me. V'zot haTorah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael, as it says, this is the Torah that Moshe put before the children of Israel. Aval et omek ha'omakim Hashem mastir. But the deepest depths, God is concealing. את האנרגיה הגרעינית הפלאית והמוחלטת שיש בתורה, this nuclear amazing absolute energy that's in the Torah, שהיא יכולה ממש לקרוע אותי לגזרים, that can tear me to pieces, והיא כל כך חזקה, and it's so powerful, עד שבנוכחותה לא אוכל שלא לקיים את התורה. If it was revealed to me, if I would realize the power of it, I wouldn't be able to refuse keeping the Torah. I just read yesterday a very beautiful parable. So let's say you take a little child who's learning Torah, and he just knows that he read a couple of verses and he knows that. And you take, let's say, the biggest scholar who's reading the same verses. The big scholar can give you can talk for a week on that verse, right? But the Torah is compared to water, right? You can't really hold water. The only way you can hold water is in the form of an ice cube, for example, right?
Right.
So the big scholar who has tremendous knowledge of the Torah, he basically has like one ice cube of all this infinite amount of water, right? But he knows it's great. He has something that he can really do something with it and so on. But still, it's nothing more than just like it's nothing more than like one ice cube from the ocean, So the Torah was given to us. We have it in words. We can learn the language. We can translate it. We can understand what it says. We can go deep into it, right? But the deepest depths of the Torah is so powerful, and that's concealed. So Harabi Mishbitzer Omer Shizeh Perusha Shel Galut, and the Ishbitzer says this is the meaning of exile. Ani begalut כשהשם מסתיר ממני את הקדושה של התורה, I'm basically in exile, but so long as God is concealing the holiness of the Torah from us. I'm in exile when I'm learning the words of the Torah, but they're not touching me. Pashut einan nagot. They're not touching me. It's information, like chas v'sholom, like any other subject, right? I think I told you the story once that Reb Shlomo was invited to Hakafot Shniyot. You know what Hakafot Shniyot is? In here in Israel, we have one day Simchas Torah, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
But then after Yom Tov is over, they have another set of Hakafot. It was started by Rav Laus, the founder of the present chief rabbi. His father was chief rabbi, so his father-in-law, there was this Rabbi Frankel, who was the chief rabbi of Tel Aviv. And during the years of the Holocaust, he said, "Listen, there are all these Yidden who would be wanting to dance on Simchas Torah now, but they're not able to. So let's get up and dance for them." That's how the Hakafot Shniyot started. Anyway, so Reb Shlomo was invited to lead, to perform and to lead Hakafot Shniyot. I think maybe it was in Be'er Sheva, somewhere in the south. And the mayor of the city was like the guest of honor, and he himself was a professor of English literature. And he comes up to Reb Shlomo, and he was honored with the first Hakafa. And he comes up to Reb Shlomo beforehand, and he says, "I want you to know, I don't believe any of this stuff. I'm an academic, etc., etc. Like Shakespeare's my big thing, and but I'm the mayor of the city, so I participate in these things." Later in the evening, he comes up to Reb Shlomo. He says, "You know what? I changed my mind." So Reb Shlomo says, "Why?" So he says, "As much as I love Shakespeare, I never kissed the book of Shakespeare. But when the old women and the children were kissing the Sefer Torah, that made me change my mind."
Wow.
And last year, on one of my visits to America, and I was visiting my mother, so I went to Dublin in this shul right near our house. So I was standing, it's one of those modern Orthodox synagogues with a mechitza, just about a meter high. And I was standing next to the mechitza, and there was this Sephardi woman, it's a Sephardi shul. And when they opened up the Aron HaKodesh, she was like all the way at the back, and I was all the way at the back. And the love, the joy that she had when they opened up the Aron HaKodesh and she saw the Sefer Torah was unbelievable. So I spoke to her afterwards, and she says, "You don't understand." She says she had been sick and she hadn't been in shul for 6 months. For 6 months, she didn't see a Sefer Torah. And she was just like overcome with emotions, just seeing the Sefer Torah. Unbelievable.
Question:
right?
Why, when they open the Torah, people do that? Like, what's the?
Zot HaTorah, they point. This is the Torah.
Oh, is that what they? Is that like a special mitzvah thing, or is it a kavach thing, or Vayigash thing? What is that thing?
It's a widespread custom. The only ones who don't do it is the Chabadniks.
Yeah, you wrap
They don't put their hand up. Yeah, the Sephardim wrap their hand with the tzitzis. Yeah. They point. Ashkenazim.
Oh, no,
with
the Ashkenazim, I know.
with the little finger. Yeah, but Chabad doesn't
I've seen
point.
them do that.
Have to shoot
Oh, I
that,
see it
you
all
have
the
to
time.
shoot that.
Anyway,
Right.
so he says that so when you're learning Torah and it's not touching you, it means that you're in a state of exile. Or Bichlal, the whole thing of one of the big teachings in Chassidus is that we speak about the Shechina being in exile, right? And in fact, when we pray and we say Vafei Cholim, the Alter Rebbe says like the Shechina is sick, and we have to pray for it to be healed. So what does it mean that the Shechina is sick? It means that we're not letting it manifest itself properly here in this world. So we have this divine soul, we have this animal soul, right? And when the animal soul, which in origin was one of the very high angels, when it gets corrupted by the evil inclination, it's sort of like, takes charge of your being, and the question is like, who's in the driver's seat? Who's driving this vehicle of mine? Is it my Yetzer HaTov? Is it my divine soul, or is it my animal soul? The animal soul, if you can think of it, you can think of it like, you can use words like operating system. Which operating system is operating the boat right now? Is it my animal soul that's interested in self gratification and survival and doesn't give a hoot about anybody else? Or is it my divine soul that wants unity, that wants to be sharing, etc.? Right? And there's this constant struggle, and in fact, in the whole story with Yaakov and Esav, the struggle between Yaakov and Esav, even before birth, is already portrayed in the Kabbalah as the struggle between these two, between the animal soul and the divine soul. So it's and you can give many examples. There are people who are sitting with their children, and like I was just about to tell Ziva before somebody was here last week, and I've seen this with my own eyes. Remember parents who pay fortunes to send their kids away to these
Rehabs,
special schools, and the whole problem is that the parents don't want to have anything to do with the kids,
and they wouldn't have the foggiest idea how to help them anyway.
They would if they would want to. Okay.
So when you say
they're also in Golis. They're also in exile.
Yeah, but they're sick. I mean, I think I see addiction as an illness. So if they're sick, and do you go to a doctor? So you go to a rehab.
Yeah.
They can help. They need help anyway. They need help to get through it.
But you have to want to be helped.
Right.
You can be in exile in relation to another person. I can be sitting with another person and talking with him, but the entire time we're hiding from each other. How horrible it is to sit with your children and talk with your children as if they're strangers. Chas v'shalom, heaven forfend. Chas v'shalom, gam ben ish li'ishto ze yachol likhrot. It can also be, it could be like that between husband and wife. הם יכולים לגור בבית אחד ולעשות את כל התנועות כאילו שהכל בסדר. They can make all the movements as if everything is just fine. ובעצם הם מתחבאים זה מזה, but basically they're hiding from each other. זו הגלות הכי עמוקה שתיתכן. This is the deepest exile that one can experience. So, פתחו את שערי הלב. Open your hearts. רבי מישבצר אומר, שצדיק הוא אדם שהתורה כל כך מאירה בו. Ishbitzer says that a tzaddik is a person in whom the Torah is illuminated, עד שכמעט אין לו בחירה, to the point where he almost has no choice. הצדיק בוחר לוותר על הבחירה. The righteous person basically chooses to give up his free choice. לפני שהוא מתחיל ללמוד ומתפלל, before he starts learning, he prays, Hashem, אני באמת לא רוצה שתתחבא מפניי. Hashem, I really don't want you to hide from me. Hashem, אני מבקש שתלמד אותי את דברך באופן כל כך עמוק. I want you to, I'm begging you that you should teach me your words in such a deep way, עד שזה ישתלט עליי לגמרי, that these words will rule over me completely. זו הקדושה של יוסף. That's the holiness of Yosef. התורה ממש קרנה בתוכו. The Torah was beaming light within him. Right? In another teaching, Reb Shlomo was once explaining that the Torah begins with the letter Bet, and the Ten Commandments begins with an Aleph. So the Bet is 2. Symbolizes free choice. In other words, initially you have free choice. The Aleph is only one, right? And so the Aleph represents beyond free choice. So he's put it this way. He says, do I have free choice to go to a Chinese restaurant on Friday night? He says, yes, I have free choice. Do I have free choice to go to a Chinese restaurant on Shabbos? He says, no, I don't. Right?
Mhm.
In other words, initially, you have that free choice, right? But when you really connect with it in the deepest depth of your being, what in the world would possibly entice you to give up Shabbos? Nothing, right?
That's because Shabbos is entrenched in you.
Because
To the degree that you don't have the feeling.
if you really want it, beyond bechira. In other words, it's higher than having choice. So he's saying that the tzaddik is basically the person who prays to study Torah in such a way that he wants to be grabbed by it. He wants to be held by it, right? Who is it that said more than the Jews kept Shabbos, Shabbos kept the Jews?
Yeah.
Who was that? That's somebody famous. You've heard of it.
Yeah, probably. I think like Heschel, maybe.
Maybe, or he was quoting somebody else, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's
an old.
It's an old one, yeah.
Is that how, I don't know if I'm forming the question right. Is that how, if one is so entrenched with the mitzvahs, is that how one
achieves this? It's not, when you say entrenched, the thing is like this. Once three of Shlomo's friends for many years, they said, we want to have a meeting with you. We want you to do tshuva. So he met with them. And they're telling him, listen, whatever has happened, this business of these things that you're doing that are not quite acceptable. We want you to do tshuva. Shlomo says, I hear. So then, before they ended, he says to them, and they were pretty well to do. He says, listen, I need to borrow $10,000 for the moshav. And this one went, and everyone had their excuses. And Reb Shlomo says, and you called me here that I should do tshuva. In other words, you can be entrenched in the mitzvahs. You could be frum, filled wishes, raining mitzvahs. You could be frum, and you can be studying and so on. Let me put it this way. The first commandment is, I am Hashem your God who took you out of Mitzrayim, right? Second one is, Lo yeh lecha Elohim achirim. You shall not have any other gods before me. Don't make any idols and so on. On a very deep level, Lo yeh lecha Elohim achirim. Don't have any gods of otherness. Okay? Meaning to say that if you are a serious servant of Hashem and you don't see every Yid as being part of the unity that you belong to, their other or your other, it's already somewhat idolatrous.
Can you repeat that last part?
If let's say you're a holy lady and you keeping all the Torah and the mitzvahs and so on, and for one moment you look down at somebody who doesn't, and you think that they're outside, so to speak, they're other, that's already idolatrous.
So the idolatry is in thinking about other people and the covenant is separate from
if you
judging
Yeah.
other people,
judging
Yeah,
the
and now,
right, yeah, but in other words, but even if you don't go with the, in other words, just the
could say
concept,
about,
just the
Elohim.
concept,
If we say
just the
Elohim,
concept of other, like
that
that you're other, and that we're not really united,
wrestling ladies.
whichever for whatever the reason may be, whether it's because of religion or because of whatever. You understand? Okay.
That's great. It's an adult.
So,
Not allowed to make money.
so he says like this. So we're at the second last paragraph on the page. Katuv sheYaakov ahav et Yosef yoter mikol banav. It says that Yaakov loved Yosef more than all his other children. וחז"ל מלמדים שיעקב מסר ליוסף את כל מה שלמד מפי שם ועבר. And the rabbis explained that Yaakov had given Yosef, he had given over to him everything that he learned from Shem and Eber. נשאלת השאלה, so the question is, האם לא לימד יעקב את כל בניו? Didn't Yaakov teach the same Torah to all his children? זה לא ייתכן, it can't be that he didn't. אבל לפי דברינו התשובה ברורה, but according to what we're saying, the answer is clear. Yaakov לימד את כל בניו, כל מילה שבתורה. He taught all his children every word of Torah. אבל ל-11 הבנים הוא לימד רק את מילות התורה. 11 of his sons, he just taught the words of the Torah. התורה האירה בתוכם רק כפי המידה שהם רצו בכך. The Torah was illuminating within them only so much as they wanted it to. אבל ליוסף הוא מסר דבר גדול יותר. Yosef, he gave over something even greater. הוא מסר לו את הסוד כיצד מתחננים להשם. He gave him the secret of how you ask Hashem for his grace. אל תסתיר ממני את הקדושה של התורה. He managed to teach Joseph how to pray that God should not hide the holiness of the Torah. אל תמנע את התורה מלהגיע אליי. Don't prevent the Torah from reaching me. יעקב מסר ליוסף את התורה באופן כזה שיוסף לא יכול לזוז ממנה. Yaakov taught Yosef in such a way that Yosef couldn't get away from it. פשוט לא היה יכול לזוז. He simply couldn't move away from the Torah. כעת מובן מדוע, with last paragraph, כעת מובן מדוע כשיצא משה רבינו ממצרים, הוא לקח את ארונו של יוסף. Now we understand that when the Jews left Mitzrayim, Moshe Rabbeinu took along Yosef's casket. Moshe Rabbeinu רצה שמעמד הר סיני, because this metaphorically means is that Moshe Rabbeinu wanted that when we were going to be standing at Mount Sinai, it should be במדרגה שהמילים ממש יאירו בתוכנו, that the words that Hashem was going to speak should be shining within us. וזו בדיוק הקדושה של יוסף. And that's the holiness of Yosef, שהתורה נגעה בעומק העומקים שלו, that the Torah touched his deepest depths. I once read that Reb Steinsaltz said that one of his students had become an early childhood educator, and he asked Reb Steinsaltz, when the kids asked me about God, how should I speak to them about God? And he said, on the highest level. Because children understand about God much better than adults do. You know, Lubavitch Rebbe once said that a 5-year-old says, Mom, who put this tree here? And she says, God. And the kid says, oh, okay. The 10-year-old says, who put this tree here? And she says, God. And the 10-year-old says, are you sure? So the world thinks that the 10-year-old is more sophisticated. But the truth is that the 5-year-old is only 5 years since he's here in this world of lies. The 10-year-old is already here 10 years. So the 5-year-old is beginning to forget that when his mother says, God put a tree here, he says, oh yes, that's right. And the 10-year-old, you know, he's already been swallowing the lies of this world for 10 years. And it's like, are you really sure, right? So likewise, you can also be learning Torah from. You can be learning the same Torah from two different teachers, and with one teacher, it's like, wow, this is real. This is real. This is real. And the second guy could be teaching the same thing, and it's like, okay, right? The difference is, where is that person talking from, right?
So is what Reb Shlomo was saying here that he taught Yosef or trained Yosef on how to receive the Torah, or that Yosef was such a tzaddik that he couldn't even resist it?
No. He's saying that he trained him.
To be able to receive.
It's a good question, right? And in fact, in the
introduction, they both have the same information. It's just like sort of their souls weren't as porous in this way.
It's so one has to, so when you're reading any story in the Torah, right? Reb Nachman says every story is about us, right? So you've got two role models here. You've got Yosef and you've got Yehuda, right? Okay. Given my life until now, I'm for sure not Yosef. Okay, but the question is, can I still become that way? Can I be Yehuda? And one can train oneself to be really conscious of God at every moment. Okay.
That's why it says in Pirkei Avos that one should sit at the, I forget the Lashon,
in the dust of the feet of the scholars,
because it's your environment.
The environment is definitely a very, very big thing for sure. And the Gemara says you should only learn from some Torah from someone who's like a malach to you.
Are you a malach?
Me? Well, you're still coming, so. No, I actually remember that.
No, it's very
that what do you call it? That my Aleph Beis teacher. I remember sitting in front of him, learning Chumash, and feeling that I was sitting in front of a malach.
Really?
Yeah, and that actually kept me Jewish at times where nothing else kept me Jewish, And there was a Yid in Montreal, a Lubavitcher Chassid, who grew up in an Orthodox family. He was one of those people that he lost his years of learning because that's when the Holocaust was happening. And he came from a very prominent Hungarian Jewish family. So in the early 50s, he started visiting various Hasidic rabbis because he felt he needs a rabbi. And he ended up becoming a Lubavitcher, which to his family was the strangest thing, because Hungarian Jews are sophisticated. Are you Hungarian?
No, I'm just laughing at what it says about the Chabadniks.
Okay. And they dress nicely and things. And there were Hungarian Hasidic rabbis that he had visited, and back in those years, now the Lubavitchers are a little bit better dressed and so on, but back then you wouldn't find a Lubavitcher whose shirt was tucked in, whose hat wasn't crushed, and things like that. They didn't wear ties and so on. And so they wanted to know, okay, fine, you wanted to be a chassid, fine, but Lubavitch? And he said that what convinced him is that he went to a Farbrengen, the Rebbe was talking, he didn't understand what the Rebbe was saying. But when the Rebbe said, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, Hashem spoke to Moshe, he no longer had any doubts. He just heard the Rebbe say, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe, and he continued there with that verse. And as soon as he heard those words, we're talking about somebody who just survived the Holocaust. He no longer had any doubts. And that's the thing, is that, is the Torah shining within you? And to what extent? Okay. If I or you convince me about the veracity of something in the Torah, right? Okay, that means that you're intelligence, you had enough intelligence to convince me that what you're saying is right, right? But all that you have is like we were talking before about the ice cube, right? That's what you have. You just have a little bit of like is the knowledge that you have still in the form of an ice cube, or are you being completely watered by the water of the Torah? Right? So he says like this, we're on page 299. Yosef Shayach Midat HaYesod. So we have 7 lower sfirot, right? And we have 7 shepherds, and Yosef is the one that's associated with the sphere of Yesod. Yesod, the configuration of the body is Yesod is the part of the sphere that correlates with connectivity, with reproduction, and so on, and continuity, right? Yosef is tested sexually, right? So Yesod is the sphere of Yosef, is the sphere of Yosef. So Yesod is the aspect of giving over Torah in a way that your students or your kids are going to continue with it. Okay. So לפעמים אני לומד דבר מה והוא הופך להיות היסוד של החיים שלי. Now Reb Shlomo is explaining it in different words right now. Sometimes I learn something and that bit of knowledge becomes the foundation of my life. מכיוון שזה נגע ממש בעומק העומקים של קיומי, because it really touched the depths of my existence. מרגע שזיהיתי את היסוד שלי, and once I identified my foundation, אינני יכול לזוז ממנו ימין ושמאל. I can't get away from it neither to the right or to the left. Yeah. Now, do I want to go into that right now? There's in Sefer Yetzirah, it speaks about the covenant of the bris and the covenant of the mouth.
Where's that?
It's a Kabbalistic Sefer Yetzirah, right? Interesting. How do you say word in Hebrew?
Milah.
Milah, right? How do you say circumcision? Milah.
Wow.
Right? And
Never thought of it that way.
Yeah. Spelled the same way?
yeah, it's the same word.
Same
Same
word.
word.
Same word.
It means cutting.
Wow.
Wow, that's really interesting.
It means yeah, because you cut the words, right? But the point is that your yesod, your continuity is there's the holiness of speech and there's the holiness of reproduction. Okay?
Yesod doesn't mean continuity, does it? It foundation.
It means foundation. In other words, but it's the what's if you're giving over something that's the foundation of your life, people will listen to you. If it's just stuff in your head, okay, nice, but
Doesn't really mean
Yehuda hakdusha shelo shona. Yehuda's holiness is different from Yosef. Yehuda lamad et Torah. Yehuda learned the Torah. But the words were not immediately illuminating within him. So how did it end up that the words of the Torah finally did touch him, did reach him? We have to open our hearts even more to understand this. Imagine I turn to a woman and I tell her, אני אוהב אותך כל כך, I love you so much, ואני רוצה להתחתן איתך. I want to marry you. אם הדיבור שלנו הוא במדרגה של יוסף, if our speech is on the level of Yosef, הדברים שלי יאירו בתוכה כל כך הרבה שהיא תאמר מיד כן. So then what I'm telling her will shine so brightly in her that she'll immediately say yes. Okay? אבל הסיפור יכול להתגלגל גם אחרת, but the story can go differently. אם הדיבור שלנו הוא במדרגה של יהודה, but if we're speaking on the level of יהודה, היא תחשוב, לא. עוד לפני שאסיים את המשפט, she's already going to be thinking no, even before I finish making my proposal. שנינו ניפרד, and we'll separate. ושום דבר לא ילך כשורה בחיים שלי ובחיים שלה. And nothing will work as it should in my life or in her life. לשנינו יישבר הלב לגמרי. And both of us are going to be broken-hearted. וננסה להפיג את הצער שלנו בשתיית אלכוהול, and then we're going to try to drown our sorrow in alcohol. לילה אחד ניפגש בבר, we'll meet at the bar one night, שנינו מסוחררים מאלכוהול, both of us are drunk. ופתאום נבין, and then all of a sudden we understand, אוי ובוי, מה עשינו? What did we do? אנחנו נשמות תאומות, we are really soulmates. מתברר שבכל זאת נגענו בזה בזה, and we realize that in fact we really were connected. אבל באופן אחר לגמרי, but this discovery of how we're connected has come about in a totally different way, right? יש מדרגה שבה אני שומע מילים. There's a level where I hear words. והן נוגעות בי מיד, and they touch me right away. זוהי המדרגה של יוסף הצדיק. That's the level of Yosef the Tzaddik. ישנה מדרגתו של יהודה, and then there's a level of יהודה, שבה הקדושה נוגעת בי ממש במקום שבו החיים עצמם נוגעים בי. And then there's the level of Yehuda where the holiness touches me in the very place which life is touching me. יכול להיות שהכל השתבש. It's possible that everything has gone wrong. אבל אין פירוש הדבר שלא הייתה פה נגיעה. But it doesn't mean that these words didn't touch me. זוהי הנגיעה של יהודה. That is the way Yehuda was touched by the words of the Torah. Right? There's a statement in the Talmud, Ein Adam Omed Bidvar Halacha Ela Im Ken Nichshal Ba. You don't really understand the halacha unless you've tripped over it, unless you made a mistake with it. In other words, once it's like your mother says, don't touch the hot stove, right? So if you're a good, but you don't understand, you don't really get it. But if you touch the hot stove, then you realize, oh wow, this is what it's about, right? So Yehuda is like, he's been touched by the words of the Torah, but he doesn't realize it yet, right? He has to go through all kinds of tragic events, and he goes through a lot of them until he realizes, wait a minute, this is like, I got to get back to what's real, to what's really real for me. So Rabbi Mishvitz Omer, it's a Dishvish who says, Sheisel Yehuda mitgaleh hanegiah rak lachar gmar hadin. That the words, the holiness of the Torah reach him only once the judgment has been completed. Rak acharei shekalu kol hakitzim, after all the things have happened to him. Rak acharei Yosef HaTzadik Omer, only after Yosef the Tzaddik says to him, Hakol nigmar, everything is over. Binyamin yiyeli eved, Binyamin is going to be my slave. Ta'ita k'shemacharta et achicha, you made this big mistake when you sold your brother. Ta'ita shenaseta areb Binyamin, it was a mistake for you to have guaranteed Binyamin's safety. Tam v'nishlam, it's all over. Zoha nekuda sheYehuda hitorev. This is the point at which Yehuda wakes up. Vayigash elav Yehuda, and Yehuda approaches Yosef. Ka'et Yehuda medaber mitoch hamakom shashem nagabo. Now he's talking from the place where God has touched him. Yehuda omer Hashem. Yehuda says to God, "Ze lo yitachen, ze pashut lo yitachen. It can't be. It can't be that it's over." Because Yehuda diber al Hashem, and when Yehuda is talking to God, what did he do? Hu siper et sipur chayav. He basically is telling God his life story. Madua ra Yehuda tzarich lachzor lesaper et sipur chayav. So why is Yehuda repeating his life story to God? Last paragraph on the page. If we go back to our parable, al ha'ish v'ha'isha, the man and the woman, when they finally meet, the man says to the woman, you should know, in all the incarnations that I've gone through in my lifetime, and also in all the mistakes that I've made and distanced myself from you, tamid b'makom hachi amok sheli chashafti alayich. In the deepest place of my being, I always thought about you, v'itga'agati elayich, and I really yearned for you. Ze olai lo nikar b'masha asiti. It's very likely that you can't see that in what I've done. Aval nagat bi, you did touch my soul. V'od eich nagat bi, and how so? And so much so. Ki ragat, because to be touched, page 300, ein perisho rak shemi shenagati bo oseh ma shebikashti. When you say that somebody touched me, it doesn't mean that that they did what I wanted them to, what I asked them to do. Sometimes somebody can touch me so deeply, and I still don't do what they ask me to do. It's a different kind of touching, a different kind of connection. Yehuda is presenting God with the following possibility. Even when I was doing all the things that you didn't want me to do, I still was thinking about you all that time. Vayigash elav Yehuda approached him. Yehuda didn't even ask for permission to speak. He just went and started talking. And he cried out to God. Throughout my life, in everything that happened in my life, you touched my soul. Now imagine a person's learning Torah day and night. And then he stops learning and he starts reading newspapers, or magazines, or comics, or he's reading magazines or comics. Every time that he's reading comics, he's really crying inside. Why am I not studying the Talmud? Why don't I have the holy book in my hands? Yesh li baya. I have a problem. But I'm not managing to deal with it. Yehuda, so to speak, forced God to reveal that all that time that he fell, all those times that he made mistake after mistake, he forced God to reveal that the Torah was still reaching him, touching him in the deepest way. You think that when I wasn't keeping Shabbos, Shabbos wasn't touching me? אפילו תוך כדי שנסעתי במכונית שלי בשבת, even when I was driving my car on Shabbos, בתוכי בכיתי על השבת. Within me, I was crying over Shabbos. כשיבוא המשיח will come, יתברר לכל העולם שכל יהודי שספר אי פעם במכונית שלו בשבת, המשיח is going to come, it will be revealed that it will be revealed throughout the world that every Jew who honked his horn sometimes on Shabbos, באמת ציפה לכל שופרו של משיח, who was really wanting to hear the sound of Mashiach's shofar. בתוכו הוא ממש בכה, inside him he was really crying, ריבונו של עולם, master of the world, הנה אני בליל שבת סופר בסופר במכונית, here I am Friday night, honking my horn, אבל אני כל כך משתוקק שיבוא משיח ויחזיר אותי לתוך השבת. What I really want is a Mashiach should already come and bring me back to Shabbos. Right? They edited this a little bit because I heard Shlomo give this parable. He says this Jewish guy is sitting at a red light in Manhattan in his car Friday night, and there's a cute chick walking by, and he starts honking his horn at her. And he says, what do you see? Do you see him trying to pick up this girl, or do you see him crying out, saying, Hashem, get me out of this and show me how real Shabbos is? So on a superficial level, the guy's going to say, what Shabbos? What are you talking about, you know? One of my students at his bar mitzvah Shabbos morning, when services were over, the grandfather, again, I say this without being judgmental, took them all, the whole family, to a treifa restaurant right after the bar mitzvah services. Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Right? He was, on his conscious level, he was trying to tell the kid, listen, don't take this stuff too seriously, right? Don't take this Judaism too seriously. But why did he do it? Because a part of him was like really crying out, saying, I wish that Shabbos would be touching my soul.
Just Shabbos, or
no? I'm just
all the mitzvot.
All the mitzvot. I'm just, but in this case, in other words, there was something that in him that he knew that Shabbos is so very real that he just wasn't willing to open up to it. But he knew that it's there. You know? I was just reading about this, the other day, the Chabad Shaliach in Alaska. I don't know if you have you been there to Anchorage?
Me too.
Anyway, he's been there already 25 years.
Wow. What part of the world? Yeah.
Anchorage.
Right. Okay.
And so listen to this. So his father was sent to Siberia for 7 years. I don't know if he himself may have been born in Siberia. In 1967, the family got out of Russia. They came to Israel. His father opened up the first Chabad house in Bnei Brak.
Really?
They lived in a 3-room apartment with 17 children.
Oh, wow.
And they were operating their Chabad house from their
That's
apartment.
like something else, really.
Okay?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay?
Kind of beyond.
Anyway, he ended up, so I guess partly because he was born in Shaliach, and also he went to study in Crown Heights, and he was there by the Rebbe for 10 years. And still as a Bocher, he would, during summertime, the Bocherim would go out and help the Shluchim in different places. And he was the one that used to go to Seattle. And it's a 3.5-hour flight from Seattle to Anchorage. And there was a story a few years ago, I don't know if you remember, about 12, 15 years ago, about his wife, to go to the mikveh, they would have to. Now there used to be an Air Force base there, and the army had built a mikveh for the chaplain's wife, but that mikveh was no longer usable. Anyway, so when necessary, she would fly down to Seattle to the closest mikveh, but sometimes she would go in the freezing lakes, and one summer she's toiling in the river, and and there's a moose there in the water with her, So the story went viral, and people send in money. They should build a mikveh.
Wow.
But in any case, so there's 6,000 Jews in Alaska. He says less than 1% of the population, and so he among the Jewish people that he connected with, so he was making a bar mitzvah for these two kids. And the grandmother got up and she wanted to speak, and she said, I have to tell you, this is so meaningful to me because I'm a direct descendant of the Baal Shem Tov.
Wow.
And he says that he's a direct descendant, son after son, from the Maggid of Mizrach. The Maggid was the major disciple of the Baal Shem Tov. And he says it's amazing. A descendant of the Baal Shem Tov student brought a descendant of the Baal Shem Tov back to Yiddishkeit, And you never know. You never know. You understand? So you you have Yidden who know nothing about Yiddishkeit, but they just know that they're a Jew. I told you a friend of mine works for one of the big think tanks over here. So he grew up in Long Island. His mother came from Russia. He grew up without a father. And the only thing that she gave him for bar mitzvah, for his Judaism, was and when he became bar mitzvah, she did something for his bar mitzvah, not very much. He told me the story when he was sitting shiva for his mother. And so when he was like 18, he started traveling to the East, and this guy is a very intelligent, serious guy. He learned Sanskrit, he was like, I don't know the whole story of his journey, but he told me like this. He says his mother used to ask him, why are you doing that? What do you need it for? Isn't it enough that you're a Jew? So he would tell her, but you never taught me anything about what it means to be a Jew. And she would say to him, isn't it enough that you're a Jew? In other words, don't you realize that you're connected just by virtue of that, right? And so imagine this woman, right? What did she know about Judaism? She knew that Jews are persecuted. She came from Russia, from communist Russia. She knew that Jews are persecuted. That's what she knew. But she knew she's a Jew. It was like so deep inside. So Yehuda is going around and he's doing all these things. He's trying to run away from all his mistakes. He's trying to run away from, right? He leaves his brothers. He moves away. He gets involved with the Canaanite woman, and he has 3 children with her. 2 of them die, and it's a whole story, right? And finally, Yosef says to him, it's all over. Binyamin is going to be my slave, and this and that. And he marshals his energy and his faith. It's not possible that it's all over. And that's basically the defining characteristic of what it means to be a Jew, is that it's not over. It's not over. Okay, so the Rebbe says, what do you do when you feel so distant? What do you do? So he says, learn to arouse compassion on your soul. Okay. Learn, and what do you do if you can't manage to arouse compassion on your soul? So he says, pray to Hashem and say, Hashem, you're the master of compassion. please have compassion on my soul. And the truth is that if you're going to do that, that's exactly what's going to happen. You will begin to experience your neshama again. But what's really important is that when Hashem responds to you, to not to turn your back on it, not to turn your back on Hashem. And yeah. Okay, so we continue tomorrow, Mr. Hashem.
Wow.
Thanks for coming.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay, so.